have a strange habit. I hunt for my digital ghost. I search for my name on old, abandoned websites, defunct forums, and archived university pages. It's a morbid curiosity, a way to map the messy, forgotten corners of my own digital history. That's how I found the Chrono-Archive. It was an ancient, amateur website from the late 90s, clearly a hobby project. The design was terrible, blinking text, MIDI music, and a black background with blinding green font. The site's stated purpose was to catalog personal histories. I clicked through the links, which were mostly broken, resulting in a flurry of Error 404 messages. But I finally found the search bar and typed in my full name. Elias Vance. The screen shuddered, the MIDI music stalled, and a single result loaded. It was a blank green page labeled, "Accessing Personal History, Elias Vance." I clicked the link, expecting another 404, or maybe a single forgotten comment I wrote in 1999. Instead, a page loaded. It was sparse, text only, but the information was chillingly detailed. It wasn't my past, it was my future. The page had 3 sections. The first was a simple timeline. 2025, relocates to Sector Gamma for new contract. Begins project Ouroboros. 2027, discontinues communication with primary social network. 2030, temporal displacement event, self-initiated. I looked at the date stamp at the bottom of the page. It wasn't the date the page was archived. It was the date the page was last modified. Last update, 14th of August, 2030. The page was created in the future. A page about me, written after I, according to the entry, had disappeared. My hands were shaking. I focused on the Sector Gamma and Project Ouroboros. Those terms meant nothing to me. I'm a graphic designer. I have no contracts in engineering or physics. Inventory. It was a list of small personal items, like a packing list for a trip, but each item had a weird modifier. Old leather wallet, non-essential, silver watch, critical, chronometric calibrator. Photo, woman and child, emotional anchor, high latency. The silver watch. I looked at my wrist. I was wearing a cheap, functional silver digital watch I bought last month. The Chrono-Archive was referring to a specific, trivial object that existed in my present. I immediately ran a reverse image search on the whole page, hoping to find a source, a joke, a viral prank. Nothing. The page was unique, residing only on the abandoned Chrono-Archive server. I went back to the timeline and looked at the date of the temporal displacement, 2030. That was 5 years from now. The entire website was a 5-year countdown to my own disappearance. I typed the term, Project Ouroboros, into the search bar. The Chrono-Archive immediately returned a result. Project Ouroboros. Access denied. Required credentials. Elias Vance, Level 5 clearance. The website was recognizing me. Not through cookies or IP. The server was too old for that. It was recognizing the name and confirming that I, the user, had a future security clearance that was denying my present self access. The realization hit me. The website wasn't an archive of the past. It was a leak from a future iteration of the web, a version of the internet where my personal data was classified, detailed, and utterly correct. I decided to test the emotional anchor entry. The photo, woman and child. I immediately looked through my physical photos. I have hundreds, but no single photo of a woman and child that I would classify as a critical anchor. But then I thought about it. I'm single. My parents are alive. The only woman and child that matter to me are my sister and my niece. I went to my sister's house and asked her about an old photo album. Deep in the album, she found a picture from 20 years ago, a blurry snapshot of her and my niece, taken the day my niece was born. It was a photo I had never looked at, never digitized, and had completely forgotten about. I realized the Chrono-Archive wasn't archiving my public data. It was archiving my deepest, most latent emotional data. The future version of me deemed that photo critically important. The next morning, I logged back onto the Chrono-Archive. The Elias Vance page was unchanged, but I noticed a small addition in the corner, a tiny, unclickable button labeled Add Annotation. I knew I had to communicate with the future me. I clicked the button. A tiny text box appeared, allowing a single line of input. I typed the only question that mattered. Why did I leave? I hit submit. The screen flashed a quick message. Annotation submitted. Awaiting future reconciliation. I waited 24 hours. When I logged back in, the page had updated. The annotation section was gone, replaced by a fourth entry on the timeline. 2025, revised. Accesses Chrono-Archive. Attempts communication. 2025, revised. High latency detected. Future self-correction initiated. And then, the asset inventory changed. The Silver Watch entry was now terrifyingly different. Silver Watch, critical, chronometric calibrator. Decommissioned, high risk of paradox. The future me had seen my communication and was actively taking steps to eliminate the very object that might enable my temporal displacement. The future was fighting the past's inquiry. I immediately took off the Silver Watch. I threw it in a desk drawer. I wanted to see if the timeline would update with the item's decommission. I logged back in an hour later. The timeline was unchanged. The future me wasn't instantly seeing my action. It was only recording major, life-altering events. But the most chilling change was in the asset inventory's photo entry. Photo, woman and child, emotional anchor, high latency. Asset priority, raised, required for temporal vector lock. My future self was relying on that photo, that emotional core, to lock in the events leading up to 2030. I decided to destroy the anchor. I drove back to my sister's house, found the old album, and took the blurry photo. I brought it home and carefully shredded it. I was severing the emotional link. I checked the Chrono-Archive again. The timeline remained unchanged, but the asset inventory section for the photo was now just a black, flashing bar labeled Data Corruption. I had broken the future. The next day, I found the final message from the future me. The Elias Vance page was gone. When I typed my name into the search bar, the screen displayed a massive, all-green error message. Error 404. Elias Vance not found. User profile removed from active timeline. I was relieved. I had stopped the 5-year countdown to my own erasure. I had forced the future me to completely delete the record. But the relief was short-lived. I started trying to contact my sister and my niece, the woman and child. My sister's phone number was out of service. Her Facebook page was gone. Her home address was now listed under a new tenant. It was like she and my niece had never existed. I frantically searched the city archives. There was no record of my niece's birth. The asset priority raised for the photo hadn't been about relying on it. It had been about protecting it. When I destroyed the photo, the future me initiated a massive timeline correction that isolated the key emotional anchors to prevent the paradox. The future me deleted the people I cared about to stabilize the timeline. I realized I hadn't stopped the displacement. I had merely cleared the path by eliminating the emotional latency. I'm alone now. My sister and niece are gone. I check my wrist every morning for the silver watch I threw away. And sometimes, late at night, I type my name into my browser's search bar. I no longer check the old Chrono-Archive. I search my regular life. And every few weeks, I find a tiny, subtle change. An old credit card bill with a charge I didn't recognize for a service in Sector Gamma. An email from a company named Ouroboros Corporation. That vanishes the moment I click it. I know I am on the path. The future me is still alive, still running the code, and is now actively building the life that leads to 2030. I broke the emotional anchor, and now The temporal displacement event is inevitable. I just hope that when I finally reach that abandoned server and write my final record, I find a way to leave a message that can reach the past me before he searches for his name. But I know I won't. The timeline is sealed. I am the future's prisoner.